think, a love for the sport, and when one race finished, looking forward to the next one, always. But they weren't always successful, but generally speaking, I did pretty well. Oh, well, you think about the Tasman series and which included the Australian Grand Prix. The promoters used to bring out people such as Graham Hill, who was a former world champion, Jimmy Clark, who was a current world champion, Jackie Stewart, who was a future world champion, and all three of those were pretty good friends of mine. I got to know them because I was in the sponsored by Shell, as were the BRM team, which was Jackie Stewart and Graham Hill, and Jimmy was a good friend of theirs, and they would just bring all the rest of the overseas blokes together, and Graham was basically the spokesman for them, because being the elder statesman, so to speak. And so I got to know lots of them, particularly Pedro Rodriguez, who I got to know particularly well, and really we got on well together right throughout the series each year. In later years with the touring cars, getting up on the podium at Bathurst, that was pretty special. But some of the Formula One races I won in the Gold Star Series in Australia, and won them well. Always started at the front. I enjoyed that. I was basically an apron cockpit man all of my career, but touring cars started to take over in the 70s, and it was obvious at the time that's where you wanted to be, or had to be, if you wanted to stay in motor racing, because the others were fading. And so that was fair enough, I suppose. That's life. And but single-seater apron cockpit cars was my favourite. I don't know, most of the open wheel cars, the speedway cars, I drove for my father-in-law for most of the latter half of my career. He was one of the top owners in the country. He bought a couple of Curtis Offenhauses from the United States, which were the gun car, and I drove both of those, and particularly the second one, the 76 car. I drove right to the end of my speedway career, won a lot of races with it, and I've used that 76 number ever since. I miss not being involved in it, actually, but there comes a time when you have to say it's time to stop, John. You've had a pretty good innings. You only hurt yourself once, and it's just time. You're not quite as sharp as you used to be, and some of the younger blokes are going to make you look not too good. So it's time to get out, John. So I did, but then a friend of mine talked me into doing historic racing about 8 or 9 years later, so we did that for about 4 or 5 years together, and that was pretty impressive, and really enjoyed that. Not the same sort of pressure, but there's a lot of blokes from my era that were racing and were very, very quick, so the racing was quick, but the pressure wasn't there, and so that was very enjoyable. But after that I said, this is definitely it, I'm stopping. Well, my thoughts on his progress so far are very positive, and I must say Gavin's done a great job with him, and he's got some talent. You can't take that away from him, and he's won some races and done very, very well. The future, who knows, because at the end of the day you've got to find a major sponsor, because there's big money involved in taking the next step into some form of road racing, circuit racing. So all things being well, I think he can make it. Just needs a break from that point of view to get the foot in the door, and away you go, because he's certainly got the talent. Everyday motoring, modern, obviously, because they've got all the gadgets and technology, pleasure to drive. However, historics, I like them. I like the way that people restore them and look after them, and they're just beautiful, whether they be racing cars or normal road cars. And I'm always interested in going to a show where they might be on display, and have a look at the latest ones and who's done what and so on. I just like cars, full stop, always have done. And the motor industry, which I've been involved in all of my life. A lot of model cars, because it's not big enough to put much more than my car in it. I have got a collection of model cars. I started back, I don't know how old I was, but might have been in the 20s or something, and in my 20s. And something that appealed to me, I'd buy, and when I got a few more bucks, sometimes I'd buy 3 or 4 if I could afford them, and different scales. And I think I've got a couple of hundred of them in cabinets all over the place, and stuff like that. I've got a garage which takes one car, but there's still plenty of space. It's actually a 2-car garage, and well, I've taken up the rest of the space with cabinets full of model cars and all sorts of stuff, and photos on the wall, and nowhere else to put them. And yeah. Oh, I'm mildly impressed, I've got to say. I mean, I've seen some places overseas. I've been to the United States and spent some time there and had a look around there, but nothing comes near this. It's just sensational, just the class of not just the contents of the cars, but the whole building. And the layout is just so professional, but just, makes your mouth water. And it really is worth a look by anybody. It's just sensational. The artwork hanging around hanging in some of the rooms, and what they represent, the whole building, the furniture, everything is just fantastic. I just love the place. I mean, I used to come here years ago and it was just one little building. And when I walked in this morning, I couldn't believe, having walked all around the place, how fantastic it is. I love it.
Well, his career was very, very successful, and I'd really like to sort of follow on to that. And that sort of drives me to go further and past that person, and then past the next person, and then do a John Harvey and past that next person and get into the front. So it really drives me to win, and I want to be like him as well. Well, I'm sure Pa, he says stuff to my dad. I'm sure he passes on to me, but yeah, he does give some advice. Well, my goal is to be an F1 driver, obviously, as it is fast and it is fantastic, but any motorsport career would be just a dream come true. Well, motorsport isn't an affordable sport, obviously, because everything just comes into it at the aspect of going fast, but sponsors are definitely a massive help. Whether it is just a little bit or a lot, it's fantastic, yeah. Well, I feel very, very honoured. When I walk into Dutton garage, I feel, am I worthy? Because it's just fantastic. But yeah, it's very, very important to be a part of this. Thank you. Well, daily driver, probably a Jeep Wrangler, fully pimped out. Or if money wasn't an aspect, probably the new Bugatti. Looks really cool because it's really fast.